Hello, and welcome to GooseDrunks. Okay. To accompany my wine today, I will be reading the Goosebumps classic, The Blob That Ate Everyone. The rules of GooseDrunks are very, very simple. 1. Drink if it's stupid. 2. Drink if it's scary. That's it. This one's interesting because it starts with dialogue like all Goosebumps books do, but it's not from our main character, it's actually from our main character's friend, Alex. The book starts with Alex telling us about how when she was little, she used to believe in monsters and that there was one that lived in her sock drawer and that's why she didn't wear socks for a whole year. And I guess it's supposed to be endearing, and then she laughs and we make fun of her laugh because we're mean. Now that I'm 12, I'm a lot smarter, she said. Now I know that there's no such thing as monsters. Even RL's in on the irony on this one because he says, that's what Alex said to me 2 seconds. He italicized it and everything. 2 seconds before we were attacked by a monster. Don't you hate when that happens? It was spring vacation and Alex and I were out collecting things. That's what we do when we can't think of anything better. I guess that's a sentence. So our main character's talking about how boring their little town Norwood Village is. Alex lives next door and she's my best friend. I don't know what the main character's name is, and it's in first person, so I guess my best friend is Alex. But also I have another best friend, Adam, and he lives across town. I think a person should have a lot of best friends. We're very giving. I'm not sure why Alex has a boy's name. I think it's short for Alexandria, but she won't tell me. RL's gotta meet that word count, I guess. Sometimes people have trouble with my name, too. Zachy Beauchamp. Oh, my last name is pronounced Beecham, but no one ever knows how to say it. Well, that's because you spelled it wrong, RL. Jesus. I feel like I've been tricked. I'm already upset. I'm gonna drink. Why am I going on about names like this? I don't know, RL, because you have a word count to meet. You see, when the blob monster attacked, I was so scared, I forgot my own name. Whoa, that sounds like you had a word count to meet. It's already so dumb. It's the day after a rainy day, and they're digging around in their moist backyards, gross, looking for worms. And they're trying to find specifically purple worms and not brown worms because they're racist against worms. I heard a loud, squishy sound behind me. I spun around quickly and I gasped. I dropped the worm I had been carrying and took a big step back. "It looks like a giant human heart," Alex cried. She was right. The monster made another loud squish as it bounced over the grass toward us. It bounced like a giant beach ball, taller than Alex and me, nearly as tall as the garage. It was pink and wet and throbbing. Ew, RL. On top of the pink blob, I thought I saw curled up snakes, but as I stared in horror, I realized they weren't snakes. They were thick, purple veins. RL! Stop! Zachy, or whatever the heck her name is, groans. A sticky trail of white slime is left behind. He has to be doing this on purpose, right? At first, I thought the pink blob was cracking apart, but as the crack grew wider, I realized I was staring at its mouth. The mouth opened wider, wide enough to swallow a human. And then a fat purple tongue plopped out. The tongue made a wet splat as it hit the grass. "Run!" Alex cried. I turned and tripped on the edge of the driveway. I landed hard on my elbows and knees and looked back in time to see the drooling pink mouth open wider as the tongue wrapped around me. Dun dun dun! I'm not scared, but it's clearly meant to be spooky. It's just really stupid though, so... Alex stared at me, her mouth open wide. "Zachy, that is awesome," she declared. Adam scratched his curly black hair and made a face. "You call that scary?" The three of us were hanging out in Adam's house. We were squeezed into what his parents call the rec room. The room is so small, only a couch and a TV fit. Okay, this person is such a snob. I don't like her at all. So it's spring break, and that's why they're hanging out. They didn't know what else to do. And the night before, Zachy had apparently stayed up all night working on her scary story about her dick monster. Zachy wants to be a writer when she grows up because RL can't empathize with people who have different goals than he does. So she writes scary stories all the time and then reads them to Alex and Adam. They always react in the same way. Alex always likes my stories. She thinks they're really scary. Adam always says my stories aren't scary at all. He says he can write better stories with one hand tied behind his back, but he never does. "Stories never scare me," Adam replied. "I thought the story was really scary," Alex said. "I thought you had a really good description of that dick monster. And Adam, a broken record, says, I never get scared of books or stories, especially stories about dumb dick monsters. I don't get scared by movies either. Nothing ever scares me. I'm sure that's going to change before the end of the book. And then he opened his mouth wide in a scream of horror. All three of us did. We leaped off the couch as a terrifying screech rang through the room and a black shadow swept over the floor. Dun dun dun. Sammy. So they stay for dinner. Mrs. Levin's a great cook. And then it's dark and they go to walk home. Adam lives on the other side of Norwood Village, but it isn't a very long walk, only about 15 minutes. We walked for about 5 minutes when we came to a row of little shops. Can I help you? Hey, I cried out when the antique store on the corner came into view. It's been totaled. You can't say that about a store. You say that about a car. It looks like a bomb hit it, Alex exclaimed. All the windows were shattered. One wall had nearly caved in. The shingles on the walls and the roof had been burned black. Was it a fire, I wondered, leading the way across the street? Lightning, a woman's voice replied. I turned to see 2 young women on the sidewalk beside the store, and they both had terrible Australian accents. I'm deciding now. It was struck by lightning, one of them said. Yesterday, during the big storm. It's one of my better accents. I'm clearly doing great here. There's just too many characters so far, you guys. I'm not used to having 2 best friends. The lightning started a huge fire. The 2 women disappeared around the corner, tisk-tisking about the store. Thank God they are gone. Oh my God, I could not have maintained that for much longer. I could barely maintain it from the jump. It's soaked everywhere, Alex murmured. From the fire hoses, I guess. The door had been taped shut, but the tape had broken off. A large yellow sign on the door declared in big black letters, Danger. Keep out. Alex, let's take a peek, I urged. No way. Zachy, stop, Alex cried. Too late. I was already inside. Baby, what you doing? I took a couple of steps into the shop and waited for my eyes to adjust to the darkness. Water dripped everywhere. An entire wall of shelves had toppled over. Broken vases and lamps and small statues lay scattered over the puddled floor. And so Alex really wants to leave because she can read and she understands that if a building has been on fire recently, you probably shouldn't go inside it. But Zachy's in a Goosebumps book and understands the responsibility that entails. She grabbed my arm and started to tug me out. Come on, you saw the sign. Open up my eyes, I saw the sign. The whole building may fall in on us. I just want to look around for 1 second, I told Alex impatiently. This is cool. A row of ugly antique masks stared at us from one wall. Creepy. The masks were tilted at odd angles. Other masks stared up from where they had fallen on the floor. Why does this place have so many masks? A creaking sound overhead made me jump. I heard Alex gasp. I raised my eyes to the ceiling. Part of it had fallen in. Was the rest about to collapse on top of us? That's a legitimate worry. You should get out of there, girl. Hey, Alex, I called. Look. I pointed up to an old typewriter. Zachy, I'm leaving, Alex warned. I crossed the room, stepped up to the shelf, stood on tiptoe, and reached for the old typewriter. Ow! I felt a hard shock of pain. It shot through my body, took away my breath. Over my stunned cry, I heard the sharp crackle of electricity, and I bent over, helpless, as a bright blue flame shot around my body. Oh my God, did our main character get struck by lightning in chapter 4? Dun dun dun. How did I get on the floor? I asked weakly. Alex leaned over me, one hand on my shoulder. You got a shock, she said, squinting hard at me through her glasses. There must be a wire down or something. Wow, I murmured. It was a real bad shock, Alex said softly. I was so scared. You were inside a blue flame. Your whole body turned bright blue. I've never been electrocuted before. I hope it doesn't happen. Fingers crossed on that one. But I'm pretty sure that if you do get electrocuted, your body doesn't just go up in one blue flame. I pulled myself shakily to my feet. The old typewriter caught my eye again. You gotta admire that single-minded determination. I took a deep breath, stretched up on tiptoe, and pulled the old typewriter down. Whoa, it weighs a ton, I cried. It's solid metal. Oh, so maybe don't pick it up right now while you have an electrical current running through your body. The sleek black surface caught the glow of the streetlight outside the door. The round keys poked up toward me. It's awesome, I exclaimed. This typewriter, Alex, is perfect for writing scary stories on. Alex rolled her eyes. You have a brand new computer at home, she reminded me, and your mom gave you her old printer, remember? The 90s. God, I wish I had a printer. So what do you need a creaky old typewriter for? Well, Alex, you see, the story couldn't happen if our main character didn't nonsensically want this old typewriter that almost killed her. Lugging the typewriter, I started to the door, but Alex blocked my path. You can't just take it, she scolded. It doesn't belong to you. That's stealing. I can't believe in the first 5 chapters of this book, our main character was almost electrocuted to death and then looted. This is the best Goosebumps book ever. I made a face at her. Alex, don't be dumb. Everything in this store is wrecked. Nobody will care if I take... Then I heard a cough. I turned to Alex, caught the fear on her face. She heard the sounds too. Dun, dun, dun. A chill swept down my back. I nearly dropped the typewriter. God forbid. Hide, I whispered. I didn't need to suggest it. Alex was already slipping behind a tall display shelf. Girl after my own heart. So they're both hiding, and then a woman's voice calls out, "Hello, is someone in here?" Who is she? I wondered. Does she own the store? She sees the typewriter and keeps the flashlight on it, and then slowly raises the light back to the display shelf. She stared right at us. Ah! Could she see us hiding behind the display case? I froze. I pretended to be a statue. She muttered something to herself. The light went out. I blinked in the sudden darkness. Her footsteps moved away. I realized I was still holding my breath. Was the woman gone? Did she leave the shop? We waited and listened. Then Alex sneezed. Gotcha! The woman cried from somewhere behind us. Dun, dun, dun. End of chapter. The woman switched her flashlight on. She raised it to my face, then to Alex's. Doing some late night shopping? She demanded. We were walking home. We saw the store, how it was wrecked. I explained. We just wanted to see what it looked like inside, so we came in. That's all. Her shoe made a squishing sound on the carpet. Water dripped steadily from the ceiling behind us. What a mess, the woman sighed. I'm Mrs. Carter. I own this store. What's left of it. You shouldn't be in here, Mrs. Carter scolded. It's very dangerous. Some of the electrical wires are down. Yeah, we know. You didn't touch anything, did you? Well, just this old typewriter, I said. I wondered how it got down there, Mrs. Carter said. Why did you move it? I like it, I told her. It's really cool. Zachy writes stories, Alex told Mrs. Carter. Scary stories. I'll bet I could write awesome scary stories on that old typewriter, I said, staring down at it. Mrs. Carter motioned with one hand. Take it, she said. Excuse me? Go ahead. Take it. It's yours for free. Do you mean it? I cried excitedly. I can have it? She nodded. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Mrs. Carter bent down and picked up something from the floor. Here, she said. She handed me a fountain pen, a very old-fashioned looking fountain pen, heavy and black with silvery chrome on it. For me? I asked, studying the pen. Mrs. Carter nodded again. She smiled at me. It's my going out of business special offer. It's depressing. You get a free pen with every typewriter. It's very depressing. Wow, I exclaimed. So dumb. We are so... just the most insensitive little brat. I hoisted the heavy old typewriter onto my arms. Balancing it against my chest, I followed Alex to the door. I felt so happy. Boy, I wonder how long that's gonna last. The walk home seemed to take forever. The typewriter grew heavier with each step I took. Weird, Alex muttered when we finally crossed onto our block. She seemed so eager to give it away, like she wanted to get rid of it, Alex said, continuing a trend of Goosebumps friends being more intuitive than our stupid main characters. That's crazy, I muttered. Of course, I didn't know how right Alex was. Da da da. Mom and Dad were in the living room, sitting side by side doing crossword puzzles together because that's adorable. And so, of course, they're both like, what is that? Dad comes over and is like, wow, it weighs a ton. How'd you even carry it home? And RL hand waves that like, just did. It wasn't that bad. Why do you need an old typewriter? Mom asked, frowning at me. No one uses typewriters anymore. You only see them in antique shops. Well, not anymore, Mom. I want to write my scary stories on it, I explained. What about your new computer? Dad demanded. I'll use that too, I said, for schoolwork and stuff like that. Mom rolled her eyes. Next, Zachy will be writing with a feather quill and an inkwell, she said. They both laughed. I said goodnight and hurried down the hall to my room. I turned the corner that led to my bedroom and stopped. What was that strange crackling sound? It seemed to be coming from my room, a steady crackling buzz. Weird, I muttered. I stepped into the doorway, peered into my room, and gasped. Dun dun dun! The typewriter was bathed in a bright blue glow. Seems normal. They're supposed to do that. Blue sparks buzzed and crackled off and flew in all directions. Like I said, Mom, Dad, I called, come here, you have to see this. I hurtled down the hall to the living room. Quick, come quick, I shouted. And so then she's like, my typewriter's like about to blow up or something. And they get their asses off the couch, they go to her room, and guess what? It's not doing anything when they get back. Obviously. For all the horror stories Zachy writes, she doesn't know to not take her eye off of the mysterious phenomena happening. Anyways, it just looks like a totally normal typewriter. And so Dad's like, funny joke. And Mom's like, I don't know where Zachy gets his sense of humor. Twist! I can't believe the first use of a pronoun was in chapter 9. Now I feel like a jackass. All right, so Zachy's a boy. Okay, I don't know how to relate to him, but here we go. I guess I could have read it on the back of the book, but what fun's that, am I right? Anyway, Mom shook her head. I don't know where Zachy gets his sense of humor. Not from my side of the family. And then Dad says, your side of the family doesn't need a sense of humor. They're already a joke. What an awful thing to say to someone that you're married to. And no, Mom doesn't take that as a joke. They walk off arguing. So Zachy edges slowly into the room toward the typewriter and reached out a hand, lowering it toward the typewriter until it's like an inch away. My hand started to shake. I stared down at the solid, dark machine. Should I touch it? Would it shock me again? I lowered my hand. Dun dun dun. Chapter 10. Alex slammed her locker shut. So what happened? Did the typewriter zap you again? And then Zachy's like, no, it didn't zap me. So I guess mystery solved. No reason to made that like be a cliffhanger or whatever. Yeah, he touched some keys, he turned on the roller, nothing happened. Alex is like, that isn't a very good story. Got kind of weak ending. Bitch, I got news. It's chapter 10. I'm gonna rewrite the blob monster story, I told her. I have a lot of new ideas. I can't wait to start working on it. I heard giggling. I spun around and saw Emmy and Annie Bell. They're twins, and they're in our class. Adam came trailing after them. He punched me in the shoulder so hard I bounced against the lockers. Emmy and Annie are good friends with Adam, but not with Alex and me. They both have curly red hair, lots of freckles, and lots of dimples. Emmy grinned at me. Do you really believe in monsters? She asked. He writes scary stories. That doesn't mean he believes in monsters. I don't believe RL believes in monsters other than his own hubris. Maybe, I replied, but I wasn't talking about real monsters. I was talking about a scary story I'm writing. Yeah, that's different. Then I added nastily, you two wouldn't understand since you haven't learned to write yet. Ooh, sick burn. Ooh, he really got him good. But do you believe in monsters? Emmy insisted. Adam says you think a monster lives under your bed. Okay, Alex was the one telling the story at the beginning about a monster that lived in her sock drawer. Like, geez, are we just making fun of kids thinking that monsters live places? Zachy sees monsters everywhere, Adam teased, grinning at Emmy and Annie. He thinks when he opens his locker door, a monster will jump out at him. I turned the lock on my locker and pulled open the door. And then I knelt down to pull out my books. I saw a white flash. Huh? I cried out in surprise. Another one jumped out, and then I gasped and something plopped onto my head. Something alive. I fell to my knees, reached up to grab for it. I felt its claws tangle in my hair. Help! I cried. Help me! Dun dun dun. Anyway, Adam pulls it off of him. It's a mouse. Why does RL feel like it's fine to just fling live animals at people? So they're all laughing at him. Zachy, I guess you really do see monsters everywhere, Annie exclaimed. Even teeny white ones. Most monsters are white, Annie. Do you believe it? The famous horror writer is afraid of mice, Adam cried. Alex stood over me. You okay? She asked softly. Go away, I snapped. What did I do? Alex demanded. Just go away, I muttered. I didn't want her around. I didn't want anyone around. I felt like a total jerk. Alex leaned against the wall. I told you to go away, I snapped at her again. She started to reply, but stopped when Mr. Conklin, the principal, turned the corner. I don't know that many accents, RL, but fine. Thanks a lot. Anyway, he's a tall, pencil-thin man with a narrow red face and big ears that stick out like jug handles, and he talks really fast. He always runs instead of walking, and always seems to be moving in 8 directions at once. So we're skipping ahead. It's dinner time. Zachy doesn't tell Mom and Dad about his adventures at school that day for whatever reason. Can we skip to the bit when Zachy writes a story about a blob and then it comes to life? Because we're on chapter 12, and so far, he's got the typewriter. Like, what does everyone making fun of him for his stories accomplish? Is it going to spur him into, being like, I'm going to write the scariest story of all? Because he already had that motivation in Adam being like, You're never going to write a story that scares me. We don't need all the kids at school teasing him because a mouse has landed on him for us to believe that he has impetus to, like, want to write the scariest story of all time featuring a blob that eats everyone. Or is it going to be, because it's the blob that ate everyone, it becomes like a weird revenge story, in which case I don't really want to read about a 12-year-old boy having revenge fantasies against his classmates, if you catch my drift, RL. Just a thought I'm having. Anyway, the point is, Zachy didn't get in trouble for the mouse. After dinner, Dad and I loaded the dishwasher and cleaned up. I was sponging off the dinner table when Alex appeared. "How's it going?" she asked. "And Mr. Conklin?" I slapped a hand over her mouth to shut her up. "About what?" "It's going terrible," I cried. "I had the worst day. Kids were laughing at me all day. Everywhere I went, kids made mouse faces at me and squeaked." It's pretty funny. "I don't know why I lost it like that this morning. I feel so dumb." "It was a joke," Alex interrupted. "No big deal." "Easy for you to say," I grumbled. "You didn't have 100 disgusting rodents crawling all over your body." Alex was like, "It was one rodent, but okay." "I felt like 100, I mumbled. "Look at this," I said. I walked over to the desk by the window. After school, I had worked there for 3 hours. I picked up a stack of pages. "What are those?" Alex asked, following me to the desk. "My new blob monster story," I replied, holding up the handwritten pages. "I'm making it even scarier." Alex took the pages from my hand and shuffled through them. Then she narrowed her eyes at me. "You didn't type them on the old typewriter." "Of course not." I took the pages back. "I always write the first draft by hand. I used the antique pen that woman gave me in the shop," I told Alex. "What a great pen. It writes so smoothly. I can't believe she gave it to me for free." Oh my god, is this going to be one of those, like, bait and switch horror things where, like, we go into it thinking that the typewriter is the problem, but actually the pen is the thing the woman was trying to get rid of? Alex laughed. "You're such a weird guy, Zachy. You get so excited about things like pens and typewriters." "I think that's cool." Oh, it's nice of her to reassure him after he's had such a rough day. "Now it's time to type it," I said. I led the way into my room. I was halfway to my desk when I stopped and let out a startled cry. The typewriter was gone. Dun dun dun! Chapter 13. The spookiest chapter. How could it disappear? "How could what disappear?" a voice called from the doorway. Dad comes into the room holding the typewriter. "Why?" I started. "Who cares? It was just a fake out. They're always just fake outs." He puts it on the desk and then grins and is like, "I cleaned it for you and I gave it a new ribbon. You know, I was being nice." Alex laughed. "Zachy thought the typewriter disappeared into thin air. Isn't that wild?" "Alex, give me a break," I whispered. That is relatable. This I find relatable. Just like, stop piling on me. So anyway, the typewriter's working fine now. And then apparently Mom left to go visit Janet Hawkins, our new neighbor. What does it matter? But anyway, he very nicely offers to take them on a walk to go get ice cream. And then Alex is like, "I already had dessert at home before I came over, but thank you," like no 12-year-old ever would. They both turned down the free ice cream. Why? And then Dad sighs and looks so disappointed. He really wanted an excuse to get ice cream. That's super relatable. As soon as he left, I dropped into my desk chair. I slid a fresh white sheet of paper into the typewriter roller. Then I typed the first words of the story. It was a dark and stormy night. Creative. It turns out RL doesn't actually know how to start a story if it's not with dialogue. So anyway, Zachy types, "It was a dark and stormy night." Hey, I heard a cry as lightning flashed in my bedroom window. Oh no. Rain pounded on the glass. A sharp roar of thunder shook the house. Darkness swept over me as all the lights went out. That's pretty wild, because earlier, Dad was like, "It's a beautiful spring night. Let's go walk and get ice cream." So clearly, he typed dark and stormy night, and then dark and stormy night happened. Whoa! The effects of the typewriter being haunted and scary are immediate, and therefore, Zachy should know better than to type a big scary blog that ate everyone appeared out of nowhere. But, whatever. And anyway, that was apparently the end of the chapter. Dun dun dun. He always frames it like it's a cliffhanger, and almost never is it a cliffhanger. I'm just gonna say that. I've had like half a bottle of wine to drink. Not even halfway through the book. So anyway, sheets of rain pound against the window pane, jagged streaks of lightning crackle across the sky. Dad comes into the room. "This is so weird," he says. He was carrying 2 candles and candlesticks. "Where did that storm come from?" Dad asked. Zachy's trying to make the most of this situation. He's like, "Scary stories should always be written by candlelight. Let's keep going." And Alex is like, Great, I love your attitude. Let's do this, my man. So, it was a dark and stormy night, okay, and then he hits the space bar and types the next sentence. The wind began to howl. Guys, you'll never guess what happened next. Then the wind began to howl. Whoa. If shit like that started happening, I would maybe think twice before leaping into horror stories. Maybe I would start with, and then my family won the lottery. And then my mom and dad learned to love each other again. And then I realized I was no longer afraid of all of these trivial, childish things. And I could focus on the real fears in life. Failure, rejection, talking dummies. Anyway, I miss being 12 and being afraid of a monster under my bed. Now I'm just afraid of boring adult shit like dying alone. Lame. Anyway, the wind howls and Zacky's like, do you hear that? And Alex is like, it's just the wind howling. Sure is, bud. Sure is. Anyway, how strange, I muttered, and then things got a lot stranger. Dun dun dun. You're not getting very far with the story, Alex said, and she's right. We're 2 sentences in and we have been for 15 chapters. Maybe if you work on the story, you won't think about the storm so much, Alex suggested, which may have seemed helpful at the time, but come on, Alex, in retrospect, is that really the best advice? I typed the next sentence. Alex and Zachy were alone in the dark house. Wait, but isn't Dad home? Shit, what happened to did you just disappear your dad on accident? Uh-oh. The story's about us? Alex asked, leaning over my shoulder to read what I had typed. Of course, I replied. You know that I always write about us and the other kids at school. It makes it easier to describe everyone. Mostly it just sounds like you're writing revenge fiction against the kids who bully you at school, but tomato, tomato, am I right? So they go and get more candles, and then Zachy calls out to Dad, but accidentally wrote Dad out of existence, so Dad isn't there. Whoops! Hate when that happens. Dun dun dun. I mean, the book has already established that Zachy is the stupidest child in the book, so I guess RL did lay the groundwork for this, but like, Alex is there. She should be like, hey, everything you're typing is becoming real. Maybe don't write this story about a blob that eats everyone, but I bet that doesn't happen based on the premise of the book. They're looking for the dad who has been written out of existence. His car's in the driveway and he didn't walk anywhere because of the storm, obviously, even though he was going to go get ice cream. And that would have been such a much nicer night for him. So Zachy's like, Dad didn't disappear. He went out into the rain without his car, whatever. Type something, Alex instructed. Go ahead, Zachy, type something. We'll see if it comes true. Alex, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Be more specific, girl. Dun dun dun. Go ahead, Zachy, type the next sentence and let's see if it comes true. He types. They heard a knock at the door. I lowered my hands into my lap and sat back. See, I sneered. Any more bright ideas? And then I heard a knock on the door. Oh no, Where are you going? Alex demanded, chasing after me. To answer the door, I told her. No, she gasped. I was already jogging through the dark hall. My heart pounded. The candle flame seemed to throb in rhythm with my heart. Do you guys remember when he wrote a dick monster? Hope he doesn't do that again. Zachy, don't, Alex begged, but I ignored her and pulled open the door. Dun dun dun. Alex gasped. I stared out into the rain. There was no one there. That is scary. I'm gonna drink again. It had to be a tree branch, I said. The wind blew a tree branch against the door, that's all. No way, Alex insisted. Tree branches don't knock. I heard a knock on the door, and so did you. We stared at each other for a long moment, then we stared at the door. I know, Alex declared. Behind her glasses, her eyes flashed excitedly. She's like, don't you see? There was no one at the door because you didn't rat anyone at the door. Hey, here's an idea. Write your dad back into existence, you lunatic. Alex, please give me a break, I screamed. You don't really believe that I'm controlling everything that happens, do you? I think the old typewriter is controlling everything, she said. She's right. Alex, go lie down, I instructed. I'm calling your parents to come get you. You are sick. Definitely sick. You're the one who disappeared your parents out of existence, you Twilight Zone freak. She ignored me. Maybe that's why the woman in the burned-out shop gave you the typewriter, she continued. Maybe she knew it had strange powers and she couldn't wait to get rid of it. It is a rare Goosebumps story where halfway through, one character is like, I figured out the whole plot, please don't write any monsters. And the main character is like, oh, I'm gonna write a monster anyway. Alex, please tell me you're not serious, I snapped. You're scaring me with this nutty talk. Alex grabbed my arm and started to pull me down the hall. I pulled back. Where are you taking me? I demanded. One more test, she insisted. Please let it be type your dad back into existence. Because I'm gonna worry about this until the dad comes back. Where did he go, you guys? Where did he... I promise. One more test. You'll see, Zach. You'll see I'm not crazy. Whatever you type on that old typewriter comes true. Hurry up, Alex urged. Type that someone is standing on the other side of the door. Okay, I muttered. This is crazy. I raised my hands to the old typewriter keys and typed, drenched with rain. Adam stood on the front porch. I lowered my hands to my lap. I listened for a knock on the front door, but all I heard was the steady rush of the wind and the patter of rain against the house. I couldn't keep a grin from spreading across my face. See, it didn't work. She frowned. She leaned over my shoulder and read the words again. Of course it didn't work, she said. You didn't write that Adam knocked. You just put him on the porch, but you didn't make him knock. I sighed. Okay, if it will make you happy. I turned back to the typewriter and typed, Adam knocked on the front door. As I lowered my hands from the keys, I heard a loud knock on the front door. He's still gonna type about the blob monster after all of this. That's wild, you guys. That's wild. See? Alex cried. It was her turn to grin. We didn't bother with candles. We both ran full speed through the hall to the front door. Alex reached it first. She grabbed the knob and pulled open the door. Is it really Adam? Chapter 19. Let's find out. I gaped in shock as Alex pulled Adam in from the rain. But where's your dad? It's true, Alex stammered. It really works. What are you doing here? I demanded, feeling dazed myself. I'm not sure, he exclaimed. I know I came here for a reason, but I don't remember what it is. Alex studied Adam. Did you stand on the front porch for a while before you knocked? She demanded. Adam nodded. I did. I'm not sure why. I just stood there. I guess I was trying to remember why I came over here. Alex grinned at me. See, I was right all along. You're not gonna believe this, I started, and they gave him a towel, and then they tell him the whole story. When we finished, Adam burst out laughing. Very funny, he said. There's no way I'm going to fall for a dumb story like that. No way. No, really, I insisted. It's not a joke, Adam. It's real. Come, I'll show you. Then I dropped into the chair and quickly typed the next lines of my scary story. The storm stopped suddenly. All was quiet. Too quiet. Adam and Alex read the words over my shoulder. I jumped up and pulled Adam to the window. Go ahead. Check it out, I urged. Dun dun dun, I know what's gonna happen. The rain stopped. Listen, I instructed. We all listened. Not a sound outside. Not even the drip of rain from the trees. Not even a whisper of wind. Yes, Alex cried happily. She and I slapped a high five. Cheers to that, RL. Do you see? Alex said. Adam backed away from the window. See what? He demanded. Do I see that the rain has stopped? Yes, I see it. Have you both lost it? He cried. Do you really think you stopped the rain? It's true, I insisted. He laughed and rolled his eyes. I wanted to punch his laughing face. I really did. These two seemed like great friends. Here was the most amazing thing to ever happen to anyone in the history of the world, and he thought it was a big joke. I grabbed his arm. Here, I said breathlessly. I'll prove it again. I dragged him to the typewriter. I didn't bother to sit down. I leaned over the desk and started to type something, but before I had typed 2 words, Alex tugged me away. What are you doing? I cried. He's not gonna believe us, Zachy, she whispered. You can prove it to him a dozen times. He won't believe it. Of course he will, I insisted. No way, Alex interrupted. Go ahead. Type Adam has 2 heads. If you do it, both of his heads won't believe you. RL, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. The way to write that sentence is, neither of his heads will believe you. One more try, I said. Let me type one more sentence. When Adam sees it come true, maybe he'll change his mind. I glanced into the room. Gang, you'll never guess what's going on in there. Adam was like, haunted typewriter, schmaunted typewriter, and started typing on the haunted, schmaunted typewriter. So long, suckers, he called. He disappeared down the hall. My heart pounding, I stared down at the typewriter. What did he type? Dun dun dun. Adam had sprinted out of the house after writing whatever his mystery words were on the typewriter, like a coward. Adam's sentence was thus. The blob monster hid in Zachy's basement, waiting for fresh meat. What a jerk, I cried. I don't believe him. Everything typed on the old typewriter comes true, Alex murmured. You mean, I started. There is a blob monster waiting in the basement, Alex said in a low whisper, waiting for fresh meat. The thing is, there's like a really simple solution to this problem. It's a weird problem for sure, but there's a simple solution. You just type, the blob monster waited, but almost immediately died of starvation. He vanished into nothing, just like my dad. Done. You don't have to face it. There are so many things you could type to just end this problem. And then keep this typewriter forever anytime you want to, like, win the lottery. Because they're not listening to me. Zacky's like, but there's no such thing as a blob monster. So how can there be one in my basement? That's some stupid shit, my friend. Alex's eyes flashed behind her glasses. You're right, she cried. They don't exist, so no problem. She smiled. I unsmile. I do the opposite of smile. Alex, you're supposed to be smarter than this. Her smile faded when we heard a noise. A heavy thud, thud. I gasped. What was that? Is it coming from the... Alex nodded. The basement, she whispered. Thud, thud. We both stopped. The sounds were closer, louder. Taking a deep breath, I stepped up to the basement door. Alex hung back, her hands pressed to her face. Thud, thud. It's coming up the stairs. I cried, run! I heard another thud, and the door crashed open. Dun, dun, dun! The first legitimately good cliffhanger, 2/3 of the way into the book. It was Dad! Dad didn't vanish into the ether. He's fine. Hooray! I went across the street to check on your mother, and then I went to the back room of the basement, Dad said. I guess I couldn't hear you calling. Did you see anything strange down there? Zachy asked. He shook his head. No, nothing. So Dad goes into the kitchen to call the electrical company. I held my candle up to the basement door. I guess the typewriter didn't work this time, I told Alex. No blob monster. And then Alex is just like, we should probably go downstairs and check it out. And Zachy's like, are you crazy? And Alex is like, do you want to just, like, not know whether or not there's a blob monster in your basement waiting for fresh meat? Or, like, then she turned to me, are you coming or not? Dun, dun, dun. They go down there, and again, I'm, like, just so perplexed by, like, their decision-making techniques here. So they're searching around, they don't see it anywhere. Anyway, eventually Zachy's like, I'm just legitimately afraid and would like to go back upstairs now, please. I stopped when I heard the sound, a soft slapping from somewhere against the wall. Steady as a heartbeat. Slap, slap. It's not like slapping a 5. It's a different kind of slapping. Alex, it's down here, I shrieked. It's here. It's really here. Listen, do you hear it? Dun, dun, dun. They froze. But of course, the steps are super far away. They've managed to completely strand themselves in the basement with the blob monster waiting for fresh meat. We have to run past the blob monster to reach the stairs. Look what you've done, you idiots. I'm gonna drink because of how stupid. So they hear it flopping around, waiting for fresh meat, and then they just decide to sprint side by side to the stairs and see if they can make it. Dun dun dun. I hope Zachy's the one who dies. Okay, so they're running, and then they look to see the blob monster, and it's one of Dad's gardening gloves slapping against the window pane. Anyway, they get up the stairs, and Alex decides that the typewriter didn't make any of that happen, and it was all a coincidence, because even smart 12-year-olds can be dumb sometimes. So, okay, cut to Saturday afternoon. Okay, I just glanced down at this page and saw a sentence that will haunt me forever. Zachy's thinking about all the food he wants to eat, and apparently this book has a cross promo with Pop-Tarts because he's talking about how he wants to eat Pop-Tarts so bad. And, like, I get that. I'm in a constant state of craving s'mores Pop-Tarts, like. But also, the thing that's gonna haunt me, specifically, is this sentence. I love to eat Pop-Tarts raw. RL Stine, why have you done this to me? Anyway, this all seems very boring. I'm gonna skip. They're at the grocery store with Mom. They're at the meat department. Behind the counter, an enormous side of beef hung from the ceiling. It's really gross, I thought. I started to turn away from it when the dead cow moved. Or just should I say, it moved. I stared in surprise. The cow swung further to the right, then back. And then I heard a harsh, whispered voice. Fresh meat. It was Adam. Can the blob just show up? And then he, like, storms back to his house. That was, like, so much space taken up. And then there's just more conversations about, like, oh, things I forgot at the store. And so he's heading back to the store on his bicycle, and then he, like, grinds to a halt and hears some screaming. I opened my mouth in a shrill scream of horror and fell off my bike. Dun dun dun. And then he looks up and he sees the dick monster. It looks just as I described it in my story, I realized, like a huge slimy human heart, pink and wet with tiny black eyes and purple veins knotted on top of its head and a mouth cut into its belly, just like all dicks. And everyone's like, ah, run! I wrote this, I realized, just before I came to town. I typed this scene. I wrote that the blob monster attacked the town. My legs trembled as I stepped closer. People screamed and ran. Cars and vans roared past, horns honking. Everyone was running. I made you, I thought. Horrified and curious and amazed all at the same time. I created you. I wrote this story. This is how RL feels all the time, you guys. The blob monster uttered a sickening gurgle. "Run!" one of the officers screamed. "Get going!" They're officers. I skipped a bit. The blob monster pulled open its mouth. The fat purple tongue swung around both police officers. Kids are so stupid. Why are they so stupid? They should not be trusted with God-tier magical powers. But anyway, and then with a shudder, I remembered what I had written. The blob monster follows me home. Dun dun dun. Chapter 28. Blob monster made a final gulp. Opened its mouth in a disgusting, gassy burp. "I've got to think of something," I told myself. "I've got to stop the monster." So the blob monster is following him home, per his story's instructions. Alex shows up, is like, "Zachy, are you okay?" Because they live next door. Adam's there too, because, he's a dick, but he gets to hang out, I guess. Adam looks at the blob monster, is like, "Do you think I'm stupid?" Because he is stupid. I grabbed for him and missed. He went running up to the blob monster. "It's some kind of big balloon," Adam repeated, grinning. The monster's purple tongue slid quickly around Adam's waist. I mean, that feels deserved, honestly. I'm not angry about this one. It pulled Adam easily into the open mouth, and then the blob monster swallowed him with a sickening gulp. Alex and I both screamed. "Did you write that?" she demanded in a trembling voice. "Yes," I confessed. "It's in my story." "Well, what happens next? Tell me, what happens next?" "I don't know," I stammered. "That's where I stopped writing." "Why would you do that?" Dun dun. Alex and I never ran so fast in our lives. I should hope not. They get to the house. They call for his mom. Mom must have gone out. Hopefully she's fine. Okay, so they go inside the house. They go to the typewriter, obviously. And Alex is like, "What are you going to do?" And he's like, "No time to explain." I knew I had only a few seconds to type the ending. Squish! Right outside my bedroom door. I held my breath and pounded the keys. Pounded as hard and as fast as I could until... "What's wrong?" Alex shrieked. "The keys are jammed." Anyway, we both screamed again as the blob monster bounced into the room. Dun dun dun. The blob monster's body heaved up and down. White slime puddled around the floor around it. Why did it have to be white? Come on, dude, you're a grown man. Alex gasped and backed up against the wall. "Zachy, type the ending," she screamed. "Make that thing disappear." And then I saw the fat purple tongue leap. It rolled out of the blob monster's open belly like a garden hose. No! The tongue wrapped around the typewriter. Oh no. I grabbed for it with both hands and missed. My hand slid across the tongue. So hot. So sticky. It says that. Anyway, the blob monster, and I quote, throbbed and heaved while it digested the typewriter. He's doing this on purpose. He has to be. Alex is like, "We're doomed. The typewriter's gone." "Wait," I cried. "I have an idea." "The pen," I told Alex. I pulled open the desk drawer and saw the old pen in the front. So he's trying to write an ending with the pen. Pulled the cap off the pen. Lowered the point of the paper. It's riveting stuff, RL. Thank you for this. I wrote one word and felt something hot and wet slap against the side of my face. This is not a kid's book. So the creature eats the pen. And then I had one more idea. "Alex, remember when Adam typed something on my story and it didn't come true?" "Yes, I remember. But so what?" "Well," I continued, "maybe that's because it's me that has the power. Maybe the power isn't the typewriter or the pen. Maybe I got the power that night in that antique shop when I was zapped by that electrical shock. Maybe it's been in me the whole time," I cried excitedly. Wouldn't it be wild if it weren't, though? The fat tongue licked Alex's arm. It left a thick smear of sticky drool on her skin. But what color was it, RL? Do tell. I froze in horror as the fat tongue wrapped around Alex. It lifted her off the floor. Screaming, she thrashed her arms and kicked. Squirming frantically, she wrapped her arms around the sticky tongue and shoved with all her strength, but the disgusting tongue squeezed tighter. I shut my eyes. "Think," I instructed myself. "Think hard. Think that the blob monster is gone." I held my breath and thought with all my might. Would it work? Dun dun dun. I silently chanted the word over and over. Gone, gone, gone. And then I opened my eyes and the blob monster was gone. The magic was within him all along. What a weird mutant superpower. I opened my eyes and Adam stood beside Alex. He blinked several times and then squinted at me. "What's happening?" he cried. "I have it," I cried happily. "I have the power, not the typewriter." "What are you talking about?" Adam demanded. "What power?" I shook my head. "You wouldn't understand." Alex started to laugh. Before I realized it, I was laughing too. Joyful laughter, relieved laughter. All three of us stood there laughing, laughing, laughing. Happily ever after.
But I'm not done yet!
Well, did you like my story? The pink blob monster neatened the pages he had just read and set them down on the desk. He turned to his friend, a green-skinned blob monster. "Did you just write that?" the green monster asked. "Yes, did you enjoy it?" "I did," his friend replied. "Thank you for reading it to me. It's very exciting." "What do you call it?" "I call it Attack of the Humans, the blob monster replied. Did you really like it? Yes, those humans are really gross, his friend replied. Did you know my favorite part? What part? When the blob monster ate Adam. That was really fun, the green creature declared, but I have just one problem with your story. A problem with my story? What is it? Well, his green friend replied, why did you give it such an unhappy ending? I hated it when the human shut his eyes and the blob monster disappeared. That was so sad. Do you think so? The pink monster asked, gazing down thoughtfully at the pages he had written. Yes, his friend replied. You should have a happy ending instead. The pink blob monster picked up his story. Okay, you're right. I'll change the ending. I'll have the blob monster eat them all. Great, I love it, his friend declared. Now that's a great ending. I mean, I can respect a creative twist, but I'm still kind of thinking about raw Pop-Tarts. I wrote a note to myself before I started. I'm going to read it out loud now. It says this: Self, do not forget to tell everyone that if they want to vote on or even suggest the next book, check out my Patreon. Patrons also get access to an exclusive blooper reel for each episode, which is pretty cool. And the links are going to be in the description below. Signed, Sober Bailey. And I wrote that and made it manifest. I guess you could say the magic is in me.